Hello and welcome to Into the Woods with Holly Wharton. This podcast is all about our journey into the woods of ourselves, getting to know who we are, and where we're going in life, so that we can create the life that we want to live. It's about deepening your connection with yourself, taking inspired action, and really trusting yourself and your intuition. It's also about mindset. Our beliefs are such an important part of this journey. And there are so many ways for us to change our mindset so that we can more easily live a life of expansive joy. This podcast is also about going literally into the woods and spending time in nature, and how that can help us on our own personal journey of self-knowledge. Thank you so much for joining us today. Now let's get into this week's episode. Hello, adventurers, and welcome to the Into the Woods podcast, episode 426. This is your host, Holly Wharton, and I'm back with another fantastic guest. Today, I'm talking to Doris Lance, a wildflower photographer who engages in nature bathing for the five senses. We had a fantastic chat about different ways to connect with nature, including slowing down and really paying attention to all the little details. I think one of the things that most stands out for me from this interview is the importance of, if you really want to connect with nature, slowing down, looking, feeling, smelling, just really engaging with those senses and how you can do this in many different ways. Like you can just go on a little walk, you can go in your garden, you can climb a mountain. Like there's so many different ways that you can do this. And we talk about all of the mental, emotional, and physical benefits of this. So who is Doris Lance? Doris is an international hiker and wildflower photographer. Her love and respect for the natural environment has resulted in logging thousands of miles, trekking below sea level in Death Valley to over 11,000 feet in Patagonia, Chile, to capture flowering treasures. The numerous discoveries of flowering plants in the varied ecosystems appear in her recently released book, Botanical Reflections. Readers have the opportunity to venture with her and record their day in words and pictures, reading an inspiring quote, answering a pensive question, and completing a botanical illustration. She's currently an emeritus instructor for Cuesta College and holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in education from Western Carolina University. She has specialized studies from Vanderbilt University and from the University of California, San Diego. So, what are you going to learn today? We talk about what is nature bathing for the five senses, what we can learn from nature bathing, why you don't need to have huge adventures, they can come in all sizes, how to get started with nature bathing, and how to get started with nature photography, even if you don't have a camera. Like, what can you do with your phone? There's a lot you can do. So, in the show notes for this episode are quite robust. So, I'm originally from California. Doris lives in California. She actually lives in San Luis Obispo, a part of the state where I lived for many years when I went to university. So, I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, and I'm very familiar with a lot of the places that she mentioned. I recognize that this podcast is very split in terms of UK-US audience. So we talk about all kinds of places like Death Valley, Lake Tahoe, Mammoth, places that you might not have heard of or that you might not know what they look like. So I have linked to all those places in the show notes, and you can click through and see photographs and learn more about these places if you don't know where they are or what they're like. I actually was not familiar with some of these places, and when I clicked through and saw the photographs, wow. Especially one of the places she mentions at the beginning, Havasupai Canyon. It's in Arizona. I'd never heard of it before. It's currently not open due to COVID restrictions, but it's absolutely gorgeous. And I hope to be able to visit it someday. Hopefully. We shall see. But I hope this inspires you to, if you're not living in the United States or planning a trip there anytime soon, hope this inspires you to explore some of the lesser known places where you live, or to just connect with nature in your backyard or with your houseplants. It's all good. So here's the interview. Hello, how are you doing today, Doris?
I'm just doing great. I've been up and opened the blinds and got some sunshine streaming through the house. and I'm feeling great. How about yourself?
Good, good. I can see I've got the curtains closed for to keep the sound softened, but I can see that the sun has come out. So that's amazing because we haven't had sunshine in a while.
I know.
It's just been overcast for about 10 days, but that's fine. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, who are you and what do you do?
Well, that's a loaded question.
I know.
Well, I'm a transitional person, I'll tell you. Right now, I can tell you that I've released my first book of Botanical Reflections. I'm a wildflower photographer, but more than, I guess, combine those two and add my love of nature. I'm a naturalist, but there is a love of nature that I just seem to connect with. That, I don't know, there's something about nature when you get out of nature, it calms your mind. You know, it gives you a chance to breathe and to focus on something else other than stressors.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you get outside, what do you do? What's your outdoor adventure of choice?
Oh, mine?
What are they if you have multiple?
I've got multiple. My outdoor venture of choice is probably going to about 9,000 feet.
Wow.
And, well, because, Holly, at 9,000 feet, the topography is different, of course, but the wildflowers, the animals, the botany, everything, it's different because it's learned to survive at high altitudes. And I would say probably hiking up to Green Lake in the Eastern Sierras would be my first choice. My second choice is by permit only.
Ooh.
But one of the most heavenly places I've ever been is Havasupai Canyon.
Okay. I've heard of it, but I know nothing about it.
Oh, yes. Well, I can talk forever because there's a tribe, Native American tribe, the Supai. And Supai means people of the blue-green water.
Ooh.
And the water there, was trying to think. The water there I've seen similar, but not exactly. The intense aqua blue that is at the, 7 or 8 waterfalls.
Wow.
In the canyon. So the Supai people live there. There's not a road down to it. You go to the trailhead at the top and you hike down about 10 miles.
Wow.
And it's an elevation, I would say, of probably 3,500 feet down. And then, of course, after spending the limited time, they limit you to 2 nights and 3 days.
And is this in the Sierras?
This is in Arizona.
Ah.
It's the eastern part of Arizona near the Mexican border, near Grand Canyon, on the outskirts of Grand Canyon. When I was there, now it's closed right now because of the pandemic, but when I was there, the only mode of transportation was by horse or mule for the villagers. That's how they got their food and water, that if they needed water and supplies. I've been told that now they do have a helicopter drop, maybe once or twice a week, but I'm not sure about that. But the waterfalls, the serenity, you're in a canyon. So you've got these beautiful sandstone, red sandstone cliffs and canyons on either side of you as you're hiking up and down.
Wow.
It's a sacred place.
And is this near Lake Havasu? Is that?
I would say close. I mean, that's relative, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how far it is from Lake Havasu. I drove there from my home here in California.
Okay.
And stayed at Peach Springs, which is the closest a town nearby. Okay. And then I hit the trailhead early the morning because I didn't want to be hiking down in the really hot weather because those rocks absorb that heat.
Yeah. Arizona is hot. My parents live there now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they retired and moved to Arizona, and so they live near Phoenix. So when I visit them, that's where I go. So I'm used to the desert, but I try not to go in the summer.
No, no, great in the winter.
Yes,
Great
yes,
in the winter.
yes, especially when it's pouring rain here. So tell us about nature bathing for the five senses. What is that? Is that like forest bathing?
Very similar.
Okay.
Forest bathing began, I think it was the Ministry of Agriculture in Japan back in like 1982, maybe. And the Japanese really was onto something for de-stressors and for depression. And they started something called forest bathing. Well, I have friends that live in New York City. I have friends that live in LA. And I said, I want to transition that and make it for the general population and do nature bathing so that if you're not able to travel as we're now, how about finding something in your backyard?
Yes.
Going in the backyard, sitting in the backyard, listening, using the five senses as Bailey. And then if you want to record it in your journal, or if you want prayer, or if you want to meditate, just listen, feel where the sun is coming from, feel the breeze, listen to the leaves and the trees. And it's a calming sense for your five senses.
It really encourages you to slow down and pay attention, doesn't it?
Yes, pay attention. And you know what? I think, where did I read this? The University of San Francisco was talking about it brings a calmness to the mind so that, let's say you're at a busy office and the stress that comes from working in an office, and they're encouraging people during their lunchtime to maybe just go out a local park, find a bench, sit down on a bench, and your focus, the creativity, when your mind is de-stressed somewhat, your focus comes up and your creativity can flow more easily because your mind is more at ease.
Yeah, that makes sense. We're so fast-paced. We're always like running, ticking stuff off our list. I myself as well. And then, I'll go into the woods or I'll go into nature and then I'll relax and then I'll go back and do it all over again. So I think it's so tough to like make it a daily part of your life, don't you think?
It is very tough and very difficult. I think that during this situation that we have now around the world, how is causing us to look for alternatives for peace of mind and relief from worry. All the psychologists that I've heard write on the subject is saying, one study says that our brain craves nature.
Yes.
And what nature has to offer. And it says whether we're walking in our neighborhood, if we're walking around our lake, just to hear the water sometime on your phone, record a stream or water on your phone. And when you get back, and if you have trouble sleeping, listening to that rhythm really can give your body and your mind. See, I think it's a dual benefit for the mind and body when you walk, when you swim, when you hike, because not everyone can go to 14,000 feet in a mountain in the Kern mountain range in California, but you can go to a local, say, botanical garden or your neighborhood or your backyard, like I was saying before.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people often think that they have to go on this like big adventure or this big outing or they have to travel somewhere. When really, if you have a garden, you can do it there. If you don't have a garden, maybe you can get a bunch of house plants and just fill up your house with plants. I think there are so many options that don't involve travel.
One psychologist that I read about that said during the COVID situation, and if you couldn't get out and travel, he said, try to rearrange some of your furniture to face a window.
Yes.
and get some sunlight in. And then, like you suggested, get some plants to care for the plants, to prune the plants, to water the plants, to see the plant grow throughout your house. I mean, it could just be one or it could be more than one. Is so rewarding.
Yeah, it is. It is. And it's easy to start small, and often houseplants can be addictive. So start with one or two, and then you might find yourself with many more. But it's easy to start small.
Well, I like starting small even on a trail.
Yes, absolutely.
Even on an expedition, because I've been to Patagonia in Chile, and I've done the Machu Picchu Trail in Peru.
Nice.
Mount Fujisan in Japan. And I remembered, and I believe that this, I don't know if the original saying was by Vince Lombardi, but I use it a lot. Life is a cinch by the inch. But by the yard, it's hard.
I like that.
And it's showing you that, just begin in your neighborhood. If physical or mental problems, maybe, don't try to do 2 miles. Start with half mile, do a mile, then your body will connect with that. The muscles, the tendons, your lungs, your heart will adjust and want more. That's why I'm taking these easier steps for people who haven't, I grew up in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Western North Carolina. And I was hiking as a child. I've been outdoors all my life, and my parents were gracious enough to let me explore. And it was a ritual, usually on Sunday afternoon, to hike somewhere in the Pisgah National Forest near Brevard.
Lovely. I think that's really important to get started from a young age, because it really just builds that knowledge and it gives you confidence. And whereas I think a lot of people that come to outdoorsy stuff as an adult can have a lot more fears sometimes because they haven't grown up with that confidence.
Yes. And, on the trail when I was in Japan and hiking Fujisan, I saw many young Japanese children. Some of them, even me. But I was enjoying the journey, but they were marveling. See, that was a new experience that they looked at to discover things. Not to maybe just go up there fast and conquer it, or just have something to boast about. The child was finding the magic in just being able to be on the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a really good point, because I think some people get really into like bagging summits and ticking stuff off your list. And I don't want to knock that, because that's good because you're still getting out, but it's a very different practice from this enjoying the journey, nature bathing, paying attention to the details.
Well, and I know quite a few peak baggers, and I encourage them to do the 40 peaks. I know there's one in Colorado. There's one also in California of peak baggers. And I say go for it. But I'm not sure that the average person that could benefit from the mental and health things would see that as doable. And I think that might tell them in their mind, well, if I have to do that, I can't do it. So I'm not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And I think that it's the wrong thought, because you can. And you were saying something about enjoying the journey. I just started taking wildflower photographs for my book. And I found that I was at below sea level in Death Valley, 200 plus feet below sea level. And I see things blooming below sea level. And then I go to White Mountain at 14,000 plus, and a totally different flower, tree, bush. It's like another world.
Yeah.
It's like you get to explore and maybe take photographs of your friends if you're hiking with your family. Those are great memories.
They are great memories. And I think one of the important things about social media is that, we can say good things and bad things about it, but when we share these experiences, I think it encourages other people to give it a try as well.
I'm sure, because I've had people, I belong to several groups with wildflowers. So people will ask me when they see a photograph that's unusual or maybe one that they're not used to seeing. Mm-hmm. And they will say, where did you find that photograph? And I love to share. Mm-hmm. That's why I like to belong to some of these groups, because one flower that it's called the desert candlestick, and it does not bloom every year, I don't think, because I've been by this one place in the Mojave Desert many times, and I had never seen it. And I was going off-road because I have a four-wheel drive Jeep, and I'm going off-road, and I see this field and about 20 desert candlesticks. And I just said, stop the Jeep. I found the mother lode, and I get out and I take pictures, and I think about 530 comments.
Wow.
On the post saying, I want to know where this is. And unfortunately, I didn't do the lat long. So I gave them the off-road numbers, have like N12, N32. Mm-hmm. I gave them that and told them the town that it was near. Mm-hmm. And hopefully they could have fun going on a treasure. That's what I call it, a flower.
I'm doing this 7-month ethnobotany course now, and we've got to put together this herbarium of selections of plants and trees that are native here to Britain, and then we have to do a write-up on what they're about. And I feel like I've turned into a plant detective, because I've got this like shopping list of plants that I have to find so I can collect them, and every time I go out for a run or a walk, I've got my eyes peeled on the trail to see where I can find these plants. So it's
so cool.
Completely changes my relationship with the trails,
Well, let me tell you a story about a trail that I was in Death Valley. Mm-hmm. So I was new to the area, the Mojave Desert, and I was fairly new to Death Valley. And I went in a van with 6 other peak baggers. Mm-hmm. So when they stopped the van at the trailhead, before I could get my backpack on, they were gone. And they were hiking, and they looked back and they said, are you coming? And I said, yeah, I'm getting my camera. You guys go ahead. And they were racing up the mountain.
Wow.
Well, I got the treasure, however, because they're gone, and I'm going up through this canyon about, I don't know, probably 60 feet high, both sides, kind of sand-washed a canyon. And I hear rocks falling. Ooh. And I thought, well, what is that? They're not climbing up the canyon. They're going up the canyon, but they're not climbing up on the side. And I look up, Holly, and there is a female bighorn sheep.
Wow.
With her baby.
Oh.
Well, Doris froze. I mean, said, this is magical.
Yeah.
I am going to stay right here and see what she's going to do. I reached around, my camera was on my right hip. I reached around to get my camera. She looked at me, and because I was so still and wasn't click, 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 clicking, she came down the side of that canyon, went across in front of me, and up the other side with her calf. So I finally get to the dry waterfall at the end of a trail, which was about 6 miles. Mm-hmm. And they're sitting there having lunch, and they're saying, well, you finally made it, did you? I just took out my camera, and I said, yes, I got detained by some visitors. And I just took my camera and panned that group. Mm-hmm. And they could not believe it. They said, oh, no, you didn't. And I said, it was quiet. You guys had already gone ahead.
Yeah.
I was meandering and getting my stuff together and just taking it in. And she felt comfortable enough to take her cabin, go up the other side, and I got some awesome pictures.
It's a totally different experience.
It is, and you know what? Both experiences are good.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that, just going and missing out on that is not an experience. It is a physical experience, a mental experience too. But I got a special, I think, experience. To me, it was special, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So what else can we learn from slowing down and participating in this nature bathing and just really connecting with our five senses?
Well, you can learn some things about yourself
Yep.
that you did not know perhaps that could be developed, such as you might learn to be a good photographer. And maybe flowers aren't your thing, but maybe streams are. Maybe waterfalls are. Maybe scenery, maybe trails, maybe bridges, maybe these old miners' cabins in Animate Range in Death Valley are just characters. If they could talk, well, they have tales. So I think that you can learn something about yourself or develop maybe a skill. And there's also nature journaling.
Yes.
And I'm part of that group too. And you don't have to be an artist to do it. You just take your journal with blank pages and you write about what you're experiencing. And let's say you see a chipmunk or you see something, you try sketching it, or you sketch a rock formation, and you may have some artistic ability that you didn't know you had, and you might find it very enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really, really useful to bring some kind of journal or notebook or something with you. Because I've also, I'm not an illustrator, I don't draw, but sometimes I'll take my journal with me and I'll write, like, what do I see? What do I feel? What do I hear? And somehow writing that down rather than just kind of registering it in my head is also really useful. It really helps me to connect.
Well, and what I see that it helps me, and that's why I did, my book, I have another book coming out in the fall.
Ooh.
And it's called Flowers in the Wild Journal. And it's a smaller one. And it's where you can put it in your backpack or you can put it in a large purse. Well, it's like 6x8, so it's small. But you can relive some of that when you get back home.
Yes.
Or when you're talking to a friend and said, well, I've always wanted to go there. What was it like? And you can say, well, let me tell you some of the thoughts that I wrote down. And you can relive some of that calmness, the quietness, the beauty by rereading your words that I think, and sharing that with someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. So how has nature bathing changed your life?
Made me more aware.
Yeah.
I've always been in nature since we taught. But, you go through stages in life. And as I got over 50, I found myself being more aware of colors, of the deepness of colors, or like in Havasupai, the intensity of the blue that I had never seen anywhere before. And it is a chemical. It is something, the sediment that's in the water. I did see it when I was in Patagonia in Torres de Paine.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was the same settlement, but it was from melting icebergs that had that.
Yes.
That opaque blue.
It's like electric kind of, it's so unusual. Like you don't see it elsewhere in nature, but those lakes from the glacier runoff, it's such a blue.
Yes. Intense. Cerulean blue, I could say. So what it's done for me has made me more aware. And then the second thing is more appreciative of having some place to go where I can take a blanket and lay down in, say, Mesquite Dunes in Death Valley and look up and see 1,000,001 stars, planets, you name it. So it's made me more appreciative. And then the third thing, which is the big thing for me, Holly, big, big, big thing, is to help other people know that there is an adventure out there for them based on whatever level they want to participate. Mm-hmm. They don't have to be a go-getter, backpacker, peak bagger unless they really want to pursue that. And if they do, I say go for it. Yeah. You will never regret it. You will see, because I've had people look at my pictures and they said, thank you for taking this picture and publicizing it, because I'll never be able to go to 12,000 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like you're sharing this whole world with people who might be inspired to go there and with other people who know that they won't be able to get there. That's fantastic.
And it's for everyone, because someone, let's say, that has a disability, they might not go there, but they can see that, see what grows there, see the trail that I took, how far it was, the elevation gain, and be able to kind of get an idea of the beauty that's at all these different places. And I mean, I've traveled worldwide, but we've got some beautiful, awesome, absolutely jaw-dropping
yeah,
places in the U.S. that is like, I mean, in Utah, Arizona, North Carolina, Ohio, Michigan. Get out, explore, and just make sure that you've got water with you.
Yes.
And make sure you've got good shoes and you're well rested, and go as far as you can. And when you have to stop and turn around and go back, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. You're going to get the benefit no matter if you go a mile or if you go 20.
Yeah. So what else do people know so that they can get started with nature bathing?
I think they need to know that most animals, and I've encountered most animals are not interested in eating you, protect you. You're not that important to them.
Yeah.
Unless you threaten them. And I know we've had some in the last year and a half. I've read more bear attacks anywhere from the East Coast to the West. And it's usually even in Canada, I read one account in Canada where the person wanted to get too close.
Ooh.
Yes, they wanted a selfie.
Ooh.
So instead of taking a selfie with a lens and then cropping it afterward, they kept getting closer and closer and closer. Well, to a bear, that looks like you are being aggressive with them. And that bear opened its mouth and just kind of lunged, didn't bite her, and she finally turned around and ran, and which was not the right thing to do, because when you run away,
you look like prey.
Yeah, you look like a jackrabbit or something that's trying to get away.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think to realize that nature you're in their home.
Yes.
Hello. You're in their space. Hello. So be respectful. Keep your distance. You don't have to have a bison 3 feet away. Matter of fact, if you are that close, you're too close.
Yeah.
So use your cameras, even your phones can take pictures now, or wait for another opportune time.
Yeah.
Because these animals are having, with the wildfires and everything that's going on, they're having a struggle now to exist. So they're coming into, like mammoth. Some of the bears are coming downtown and getting in garbage cans because their home has been eliminated, as well as people further north up near Tahoe. So I would say do not be afraid of a bear eating you or a coyote eating you, even a bobcat, because I've encountered them. And there are snakes, but just be aware. And they want away from you. I've never had a snake come toward me because I've never tried to pick it up by the tail.
Oof. Yeah, not good.
Yeah. That would be set. So be prepared. Try to read up on where you're interested
Yes.
in. I mean, if you want to go to a state park, read up on what you might find there and where food could be or where gas could be. Like in Death Valley, you've got one gas station until you get to Panamint Springs. Or if you're really reluctant, go in a group.
Yes.
They have meetups everywhere now.
Yeah. And if you're going with a guide, they know the area. They're not going to take you out to a place they've never been before, so you can rely on their expertise and experience.
Holly, I was a nature guide in Death Valley for 10 years.
Oh, wow. I've never been.
Toursbylocals.com. And for 10 years, and I was booked. Oh, I did that on the weekend. But, you know, when they booked with me, I said, this is what you're going to need. And I told them water, a sun hat, loose clothing, and the best shoes for your feet. And I did not do it in July usually at all, because I've been through 124 degrees temperature. And your body can acclimate, but most people that would be uncomfortable. And I want the experience to be a one in a lifetime type of experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked a lot about your nature photography and your wildlife photography. How has that shaped your relationship with nature?
Well, I'm in love.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just in love. I'm in awe. I go to a botanical gardens. I was in Inverness Botanical Gardens in Scotland, and I went to the Royal Botanical Gardens, and you would have thought that I had come to camp. I just did not want to leave. That had so much to show me. And the colors, the scent, the growth. There's a flower in the Mojave Desert. It's called the Desert 5-spot. It's bright pink with purple dots in the center. And it's shaped kind of like a tulip. And it's like, how could this thing, this gorgeous, very short though, not a long stem, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How could this survive? And when you can see that plants and animals adapt and survive and make it and find beauty, then I think we have something to learn as human beings from nature.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been through, all of us around the world, such a rough time this last year and a half. And I think, you know, nature has survived, nature's gone on. Obviously, we've got hurricanes now as we speak and wildfires in California and other stuff around the world. But it goes on. It recovers and it goes on. And I think there's so many lessons that we can learn from nature. I mean, obviously, we're probably all tired of learning lessons in resilience, but but that's what we need to get through this.
Well, yes, that's true. But we also may learn how to enjoy the beauty that's not destroyed.
Yes.
Enjoy the creation that is still alive and protect it so that our children, our family, or others in our community can enjoy that. So protect your neighborhood, protect your local parks, protect your state parks and the national parks, because they're a treasure. It's just like diving. I'm really not a diver, but you know, when these people come back and they show me photographs of these gorgeous creatures and you know, the fish and the color and the shape and the size, and I go, that's exactly what's above ground. In a way that I've been able to enjoy and trying to encourage other people to do the same. Yeah,
that's exactly what you're doing with your photographs, is giving people a peek into a whole new world for them.
Absolutely. And here's the benefit, mental and physical. That's a prescription for your mental and physical well-being.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's what helped a lot of people get through lockdown. I know every country was different, but here in the UK, from the very first lockdown, we were never stuck in our homes. We were permitted to exercise once a day in the outdoors. And so I started seeing people, like, never seen so many people on the trails as last year in the first lockdown because that was all we could do, you know?
And the same thing has happened in the U.S. is I've seen people on the trail that are wearing flip-flops.
Oh, God.
And I tell them, you may want to not go to the right because that gets rocky and it's very unstable. But I've seen people that I've never saw on the trail before getting out. And I think it's benefiting them because they seem to, I mean, at least there's a smile on their face.
Yeah.
And they're taking the benefit because, you know, it's been proven that there's chemicals. Mm-hmm. What do they call them? Happiness chemicals that is released, such as endorphins.
Yep.
Which is a painkiller. Mm-hmm. So what can help produce endorphins in our body? Exercise, walking, hiking.
All that good stuff.
All that good stuff. But on the other side with nature bathing, serotonin.
Yeah.
A mood stabilizer, can come through meditating. Yeah. Walking in nature. And running, you mentioned running. Those are chemicals that your body, a painkiller and a mood stabilizer. Who doesn't need that?
Yeah, exactly. We all do these days.
Absolutely.
So for people who are curious about nature photography and maybe they don't have a camera, they just have their, how would you encourage them to get started?
I would say make sure your battery. A battery. Because nothing hurts worse than getting out and your battery's dead. Yeah. And make sure your battery is fully charged. Maybe clean the lens that you're going to be looking through and have it in a place, in a pocket. Don't have it so deep within your backpack that if something comes along, a beautiful bird like a coastal jay, they're so mean, but they're so gorgeous with the blue, that you can't get to your camera or your cell phone to take a picture. So have it available, have it clean, have the battery charged, and take more than one photograph.
Yes.
Because you're going to need multiple photographs to get that one that you say, aha, this is it. This is the one. So take multiple photographs. And I don't do a lot of editing with my photographs. Now, I don't have that skill, number one, but number two, it kind of lets me show viewers what it looks like untouched.
Yeah. What you're going to see with your eyes.
What you're going to see with your eyes. Yes. And just be aware as you walk along. Yeah. Like we were saying, use your senses. When you walk, you can tell, you can smell a different smell. And something around here is blooming because it smells like Russian sage. It smells sweet, but it's got a little bit of a tang to it. If you're walking along and you hear a certain sound, you know that it could be a bird, it could be a chipmunk, it could be an animal calling another animal. So just have that camera or that phone ready.
Yeah, I think that's a really good tip. When I'm running, I've always got it kind of in the side pocket of my running vest. And when I'm hiking, I've always got it have this perfect pocket in my pants leg that I can just reach down and grab it. That's because there have been so many times where I've had it in the wrong place and couldn't get to it when I saw an animal or something that I wanted to snap. So perfect.
We've all had that experience. And the one that I was telling you about, the peak baggers missing the sheep, is an example. But have it ready and good shoes. Yes. You got to have really good shoes for your feet. Absolutely. Or you'll get blisters if you hike I would say 6.5 plus miles. And most of my hiking is 6 to 8 miles. Yeah, you need good shoes. And they have such great things. There's tape that you can wrap around. When I did the rim to the rim of the Grand Canyon, I wrapped my toes And that way they weren't rubbing against each other, making bliss. So go to a local sports store and, if they have extra arches or some things for your feet, try them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, be comfortable. Don't suffer.
No, you want to enjoy the journey.
Yeah. So, Doris, thank you so much for joining us. Do you have any final tips for nature connection, nature bathing that you'd like to share?
I think one last thing that I'll leave with you, and I'm not sure where the quote came from, but it says, motion is lotion for the body.
Ooh.
And motion, keep moving, whether it's a walk in a park, whether it's a walk in your neighborhood, whether it's climbing a mountain, walking around the lake, gardening, swimming, running. Motion is lotion for the body.
I like that.
Great.
Thank you. So where can people find you online and learn more about what you do?
Well, I'm on Instagram at #wildflowerexplorer. I have a website, www.wildflowerinspirations.com. My book is Botanical Reflections by Doris Lance. And then my new upcoming book coming out this fall is Flowers in the Wild Journal by Doris Lance. I am also on Amazon.
Perfect. Good. I will share all the links to these in the show notes so that people can click through. But I always like to have you say it on the interview so that people can, if they want it now, rather than having to click through to the notes, they can get it. So that's perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you again. It was just such a pleasure to talk to you and talk about all these beautiful places in California that I remember from 1,000 years ago.
You, Holly, have you been out in nature today?
I have, yes. I went for a run this morning, just an hour-long run, but I've been out in nature this morning, and it was beautiful, and it was green, and there was the slightest of mist in the air. It wasn't even a rain. It was like a mist. It was just so refreshing and beautiful, and I loved it. So, yes.
Well, I've only made it because it was 7:30, 8 here on the West Coast, but I made it in the backyard and sat and watched several birds nesting and one hummingbird fighting off another one.
That's one of the things that I miss the most about North America is hummingbirds. I love hummingbirds, and we don't have them here.
They're prolific in the West Coast and where I'm living right now. So, well, it's been a pleasure. I could talk forever, but thank you so much. And we'll be following each other and staying in touch.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Please drop me a line and let me know what you thought of this week's episode. You can email me at holly@hollywharton.com or find me online and get in touch there. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a quick review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would mean the world to me. And remember to visit hollywharton.com/426 for the extensive show notes on this episode with all the links to all the places and plants and birds and stuff. So, thank you very much for listening, and happy trails to you. Thanks so much for listening to Into the Woods with Holly Wharton. You can find more information about today's episode, including links for topics that were discussed, at hollywharton.com. That's HOLLYWORTON.com. If you'd like to connect with other listeners and get support on your journey, I would love for you to join my private community on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Holly Wharton. That's patreon.com/Holly Wharton. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you next week.